So I want to kind of give you an overview of Solavei, but most of you, how many of you are already involved with Solavei? You have service already? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I'm going to do it this way. Put it down. If you don't have Solavei service, raise your hand. Is there anybody here? 1, 2, 3 folks. Okay. So great. I want to make it. I want to share with all of you so it applies whether you're already a part of Solavei or not. Let me just kind of briefly. What I did the other day, yesterday, I think it was. What I did was I went out, and I've been hearing this term, social commerce, and not really understanding it very well. It was kind of like one of those cool-sounding terms, but I didn't really, it was like, oh yeah, it's social commerce, and I really didn't fully understand it. And I'm not saying that I fully understand it yet, but I'm getting a much better picture of it as I hear it, as I see it. As we were out in several of the folks here tonight were out in Seattle. And we flew out there for the national launch. The company flew many of us out there, 1,000 people. The party that they threw, I'll just tell you, if you didn't get to hear about it, the party that they threw, Solavei at the national launch, we got to see the corporate office, which was really a big deal. I had a gentleman that I spoke to that I knew that lived in Denver. And when I spoke to him about Solavei, he immediately got the idea and he said, great, I want to see the corporate office. And this was probably 6 weeks ago. And so that was just his way that he wanted to see, look, does this place really exist? Kind of a thing for those of the people that were hesitant. And so he actually went out, flew out there 6 weeks ago, went to the building, went to the corporate office and got a tour through it just because he wanted to see it. And he, frankly, extremely undersold it to me. I had no idea. I knew it was a solid company. I knew that they had backing. I knew there were great people involved with Solavei. But I had no idea to the extent of excellence and all of those things that the Solavei corporate office was. So when I got to go out there, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, and actually see it, this place is in Bellevue, Washington, which is basically Microsoft. They built, their imprint is everywhere. It's in the high rent district. This is probably the nicest, the most expensive real estate you can get. They have the entire floor. They've got 60 or 75 people working there, and they've got about 1,000 or so total folks that are working either as contractors or employees. So this is a huge venture. It's not something that is underfunded. It isn't something that is unstable by any means. This thing has, in my view, huge amount of money behind it and potential. However, saying all that, I Googled yesterday social commerce, and I looked up. Sure, I'll read it if you want. Can you figure out how to do it? Can you guys all hear me? All right.
Just a little clearer, I think.
A little clearer. So I Googled yesterday, and as I was out at, see if you can figure that out. As I was out at the launch, I got to understand a little bit, like many of you. I see Marty here and Ryan. I don't know if anybody else was there. But I got to a better understanding of what social commerce was. And so I started to think, okay, people want to say this is network marketing or multi-level or all these other terms, and there's parts of that because you're sharing it. But I want to, if I can, try to explain to you all, look, social commerce, if you Google it and look it up, the actual technical definition of it, it explains the idea of what we're talking about. How many of you know what e-commerce is? Raise your hand if you know what that means. E-commerce essentially means, and look, it's not the technical definition, but commerce that happens over the internet. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Now, if you looked at e-commerce 10 years ago, 15 years ago, okay, people saw e-commerce, and people that saw, wow, I'm going to actually be able to order from a place called Amazon. They're going to ship me. Has anybody in this room, have any of you seen the new Amazon commercials? Have you seen that one? It's a brilliant commercial. It talks about how this is the new normal. And it talks about how getting this box with a happy smiley face. Who's gotten an Amazon box before? Okay, it has that little smiley face on the side of it. And what they're talking about is how that idea of ordering online and receiving something a day or two later, that was totally foreign, let's say 10 years ago. Right? That nobody ordered it and got a package online. They wanted to go to the store and get it. Right? So they were talking about how Amazon essentially, and they have been a huge pioneer, if you will, of creating, you got it great, of creating e-commerce, purchasing online, purchasing everything online. So what you need to understand, what would be helpful is that social commerce is essentially taking e-commerce, purchasing online, purchasing without a person in front of you giving you change back and whatever that is, right? It's taking e-commerce and then it's exploding it into the whole idea of social networks, right? Whether that's Facebook, everybody wants to compare it to Facebook or Twitter or something. It has comparisons to Facebook, but the reality is this. Groupon is a great example of what happens. How many of you know if you use Groupon and if you share it with enough people, yours is free? Do you guys know what I'm, do you guys have that? I mean, I haven't used it. My wife does it way more often. She'll say, hey, I've got there's a golf thing that's 50% off. And I'm like, okay, buy it. Great. I love it, right? And so, but if you share that, I don't even know exactly how it works, but I know that if you share it with 10 of your friends or whatever it is, and they buy it, then you get yours for free. So this is not, that's one element of social commerce. So this is going into, it's not going into an arena that's getting smaller, it's going into both things that are getting larger. Forget about the cell phone for a second. I mean, that's the product, that's the value add here, right? The value add is everybody wants a $49 unlimited phone. But the question is, how is the distribution going to work? How is it that they're going to get it out? It's called social commerce. What does that mean? It means commerce is taking place between two individuals versus it taking place between an individual and a business, an individual and a store. And people that are seeing that early, people that have seen e-commerce early, they're capitalizing and they're billionaires now. Whether that's any of the massive e-commerce people that you can think of. So you could think of this in much less of a network marketing, multi-level, whatever, right? You could think of this as, oh wow, this is social commerce. This is something that is totally, radically different. It's taking our social interaction on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever, it's taking that interaction and it's adding commerce to it. And the reason that's so powerful is the obvious. What you share with your friends, they trust you, they don't trust advertising. I don't need to tell you all the ways that that doesn't work, but I will add this. How many of you have a DVR at your house? You like the DVR? Cox or DirecTV? Okay, think about the value that DVR adds to your life. What do you get to skip? You get to skip commercials? Right. Think about the billions of dollars that are wasted in advertising that you never even see anymore. I mean, forget if the ad's great. If the ad is fantastic, but you don't see any of them, the ad is irrelevant. And that's what the DVR has done in a lot of ways. And I'll tell you this as an aside, the only thing, the prime advertising now is on live sporting events. That's the thing that people will record the least, and they will put up with commercials during live sporting events. Right? And it is putting up with it, because I hate them, and I know you guys do. But if it's a TV show, you're going to skip right through it. The point is, the advertising is shifting. And where it's going to go, look, social commerce is, I'm not going to try to give you hype and all the rest of it. This has never been done at this scale, and there's no question, there's zero question of whether or not it'll be effective. The question is, will Solavei do it? And that's going to depend on how often we share it. It's going to depend on how it goes. But this idea that this is some sort of a network marketing, when I first heard Ryan Wirtz talk about Solavei, and he would specifically say this is not network marketing and it's not this other thing, I personally, cynically, I was kind of like, hey, this guy just doesn't want to be the head of a network marketing company. That's what I thought, right? I'm like, I know him. Now hear me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with network marketing. I'm simply saying there are people who have a negative view of it. And I was like, Ryan Wirtz doesn't want to be the president of a network marketing or multi-level company, so he's going to come up with this. The reality is he isn't the president or head of a network marketing or multi-level company. He's the president of a social commerce company. Social commerce, if you can begin to wrap your head around what that looks like, pull the compensation up, and I'll talk a bit about the company, whatever. Pull the compensation up. If you can look at this and get the idea of leverage. I think it was Archimedes who said, if you give me a long enough lever, I can move the world. That's what he said, right? The whole idea is leverage. If I've got a long enough beam or whatever, I can move anything if I have enough leverage. The power to creating real wealth and the power to creating something long-lasting is having leverage. Look, if you share this with people and they share this with people and it just continues to go, the amount that we can be compensated is incredibly high. The other thing that Ryan Wirtz pointed out at the Solavei launch party was we don't need all 330 million people to transition to Solavei. I mean, and it is a great point, right? 330 million cell phones in the United States that are active now, and it's getting bigger, not smaller. You guys would agree with that. So we've gotten something that's a pretty good deal, right? We're not trying to match vitamins. I don't want to have my vitamin's better than yours, right? Are you anybody else done with that conversation? I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, in 6 months, the new vitamin will be better than the one you have now, right? So forget that, right? $49 cell phone service. There's 330 million cell phone users. Here's all we need: 2%. Now, it's much less than that. But the number, you know what 2%, for those of you that are in the math, I know exactly what that number is. If we get 2% of the slice of the mobile market, we have 6 million users with 2%. So imagine if we miss it and we get 1%. You got 3 million people using Solavei service. What do we have now? About 30,000. So what is that? Is that 10 or is that 100 times? I think it's 100 times growth, right, from right now. So these are all things that you can share. I mean, I don't want to be the person that has the answers. If you guys have questions, we'll take some after a bit. And look, my whole goal for any of it is, look, let's just share it with some people, have them enroll for mobile service, and then you just continue to do the same thing. Right? Brian says this a lot, probably more than anything else he says is just share it with people. Just share it. How do you know what to say? It'll just come out the right way, right? Just share it with people, right? Just, if you really are passionate about social commerce and so, you don't have to, imagine if you got paid for sending out friend requests and getting people to join you on Facebook. Now, again, do they have to pay for that? No, they don't. But you can imagine the power of the leverage of how those networks continue to go and go and go. So go to the slide that has where it's the furthest out, but it has the overall network. I want to see that one. It's a couple ones down. That one right there. Back up. That one right there. So this is the idea, right? It's not who you know, it's who they know, right? So it's just, there are people, I would tell you, we've built an amazing network, right? It's a great word for it, network, not word. It's a great network that has been built. But, I've personally enrolled a handful of people. Right? And most of the people that are continuing to see their networks grow, you talk to people in this room, most people that do that, they've personally enrolled some people. 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, not 500. Right? Not 500. Because again, the leverage comes in here. And you go, wow, so I can enroll how many? Well, you can enroll 3 is the minimum. That's what you need to enroll to start getting paid is 3 people. Right? Can you enroll your mom, your dad, and your brother? Can you enroll 3 people? Right? Not can you have the vitamins shipped to their garage that they'll never use? Seriously, people, you need to think, right? It's like, can I enroll 3 people that I know, that trust me, that say your mobile service will be, and let's talk, just be real, right? Let's just go for a second and say the service wasn't even quite as good. Right? Would it be worth it? Now, here's the reality. For most people, it would be worth it. For most people. Now, there are some people who go, I live by my phone. I have to have it 24/7. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I never have any service, and AT&T doesn't even work out there. Well, guess what? T-Mobile probably won't either, and that's okay. But, I had somebody tell me that. They're like, I'm out in the middle of Duluth. Where is Duluth? Duluth is Illinois, Iowa?
Minnesota.
Duluth, Minnesota, wherever it was, right? There's probably more than one, right? So they're out in the middle of nowhere. I grew up in middle of nowhere, Iowa. I know what they're talking about. And they're like, yeah, occasionally I'll get some bars off of Alltel or somebody, It's like this deal. It's like, look, well, your phone service is horrible now. So why not have horrible phone service that you get? So that's my point. It's like, I don't want to, again, it's not like, let's argue about whose coverage is better, and let's argue. There's no arguing here, right? If you live in a urban or suburban area, you're probably going to have service. I say probably. There's always spots where you're not. So even if the service was not as good, right, would you still consider switching? And look, the reality is, if you do any research, Ryan was telling me before I got out here, if you do any research on T-Mobile, you will know that they had a merger with AT&T that did not go through. AT&T paid them $4 billion that they're now investing into their network. That's just part of it. Okay, and these aren't coming. If you've seen T-Mobile at all, if you watch TV, you have seen the commercials for T-Mobile. Right? I mean, part of it is you're now noticing it, you're aware of it, because you're thinking about phone service and T-Mobile. The other part is they're doing much more advertising than they ever have. And they've got all these amazing things. So, look, does it stack up? Of course it does. But this is, the leverageability of this, of sharing and going, wow, I know one person, I know Tony does, right? I know one person in Nashville, and I know one person in this place, and I know one person there, and I know my neighbor across the street, because you may not know people in other cities. But the leverageability of this, this is a simple concept. This is literally, it's social commerce. People can talk all day long about what is it and what isn't it. It's commerce that's happening between two individuals. It's social and it's commerce. That's what it is. And then you just watch the network, and it just expands and expands and expands. And then, oh, by the way, they add things later. They've already talked about. They'll add cable TV. They'll add energy. They'll add all these things. And guess who the infrastructure and the supply line or the distribution channel is? The distribution channel is looking at you in the mirror. That's what the distribution channel is. Right? I learned one thing. I did a movie about 5 years ago, and this is a painful, expensive lesson that I learned that I wish I would have known Tony, because he would have told me that this was the case before, because I learned this lesson the hard way. The people who, generally speaking, the people who make the money, if you're like trying to run this, guess who makes the massive amount of money? It isn't the guy who has the product who goes and sells the product. Although you can have a great idea and sell it. The person, the people, the whatever that make the money are the ones who are the distribution channel. That's who make the money. I had this great movie, all this other stuff, and guess who made the money? We had this horrible contract, because everybody has horrible contracts, and the distribution people, we spent all the money on the movie, we went out and put it in stores, the stores made all the money, we made very little. Okay? It was an expensive proposition. But for us, that's a great learning, right? Now I know. But the point is simple. When you have a distribution channel in place, and they just add another product. Now, again, you have to be clear. Not another crappy product. Right? Not another one that no one wants to buy. Most products, this is just the truth, people. Most products cost twice as much, and they're half as good. The toothpaste, the mouth, who buys an $8 tube of toothpaste? That's biodegradable from Brazil. Right? That's what it is, right? It's twice as much, and it's half as good. Now, this is at least, you just have to think of these logically. But when you're the distribution channel, right? When the entire network is built, we think long term, right? Which for most people is 6 minutes. But think 6 months down the road. Or even a little bit longer than that. When this network, and you've got now 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people that have grown, and you've enrolled 10, 15, 20, 50, whatever it is, right? You've got this distribution channel in place, and now everybody's got a cell phone. The great part is most people won't cancel, so you're going to continue to get paid. Okay? No canceling the auto ship. The second thing is they're going to add new products. Right? Cable TV, energy. Why would you want to switch? You can pay PSO X amount, or you can use your energy through this and actually save 20%. Would you like to switch? Your electric will be identical. That's the example. Now, in Oklahoma, I don't think it's deregulated, so that may not be here, so I'm just giving you an example. But there are many places that is true. And there's all these other type of things. Insurance, there's financial services, different things that can be presented through it. So, if you take nothing else from what I'm saying tonight, the money is made through the distribution channel. And then get your piece, right? Look, I'm in this business. Look, who wants to go peddle cell phones? Right? I don't. That's not my ideal, right? But I see a way to make a massive network, and then guess what? Everybody needs a cell phone, everybody will buy one, whatever.
encrypt. Then you just push stuff right on through the network. And it's not a hard sell. You're sharing it with them. You need a cell phone. Everybody I talk to pays more than $50 a month. Everybody does. You guys know the stats. Right? In fact, I'll tell you this. This is happening today, right now. What's today? October 2nd. About 3 hours ago, I actually called AT&T and actually finally, I actually got to call them and fire AT&T. Today. No kidding, right? It was a fun day, right? And here's what's so funny. A few months ago, because I was in extremely early, right, and so I called in and got a couple of my phones unlocked. But today, ported all my numbers over and all this other stuff. So today, I said, hey, I need one of my iPhones unlocked. They said, oh no, we won't do that over the phone anymore. Now listen, a month ago they would. They changed their policy in the last month from when I called them and today. Now they won't even unlock your phone over the phone anymore or put the request in. They're making you, AT&T is making you go to their website, put your information in, and then they'll send it to you. Here's my point. Why would they do that? You can make up your story. The reason I believe they're doing that is because they're having so many people call them and cancel. Right now. Right? And whether that's they're going to Solavei, whether they're going to T-Mobile, this is no kidding, right? It's like one of those surreal moments. I'm in Bellevue, Washington, about to go upstairs to the corporate office on the 13th floor, right? And we're driving, my wife and I are driving down the intersection, and we see, you guys ever seen those mobile billboards?
Yeah.
Mobile billboard? They're driving out, you saw the same one. Mobile billboard driving right down the street, and here's what it was. T-Mobile, it had a massive iPhone on it. This is a T-Mobile billboard, massive iPhone on it with a big old padlock. Unlock your iPhone and bring it over to T-Mobile. That's what T-Mobile was advertising in Seattle. Yeah. Because right now in Seattle, if you move your iPhone, it's at full speed. Right? And there's a handful of cities. Is that here? No, it's not here. But that's what's going on there. So look, T-Mobile is making an all-out, a full-court press. One of my this guy, dude, I know the guy who owns several stores, T-Mobile stores. They are setting up kiosks in their T-Mobile stores right now for you to walk in with your iPhone, and they will walk you through in the T-Mobile store how to get it unlocked and put their SIM in the iPhone. That's happening in T-Mobile stores right now. Right? So it's not a pipe dream. That's going on as we speak. So I just wanted to give you probably a little bit different than maybe what you've heard already about this. Here's how it works. Look. Let me just scale it back for 1 second, then I want to have Connie come up and just share her experience with Solavei, hers and Tony's. So look, this is so simple. If you sign up 3 people, that's a trio. If you continue for them, if they continue to sign up 3 people at a time, they get trios. Essentially how this works is if you get 20 trios in your overall network, that's who you enroll and who they enroll. Right? There's a few requirements here that aren't really that important. If you need to know them, we'll show them to you. But this is so simple. If you end up with 20 trios in your network, right? In your social commerce network, you have 20, you're making $1,000 a month. Okay? For most people, that is the slide. That's the one that they go, okay, that makes a difference to me. That'll pay some people, that'll pay half their house payment, some of their house payment. That'll pay for most people, that'll pay for 2 of their car payments, right? Most people, $500 a month per car, that'll make both of them. Right? That makes a massive dent in most people's budget. Right? Most people live on a few $1,000s a month, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, whatever the number is. Right? This number here is significant. This is a hugely significant number. And this is 20 trios. Trios, 3 people. That's 60 people. Now again, they have to be trios, so you'll probably have more than that in your network. They probably won't be exactly 60. Right? There's probably going to be a few that are in a trio. And if you want to know how that works or whatever, we'd love to explain it. But when you have 20 trios in your overall network, you're making $1,000 a month. You can open and close with this slide. Do any of you have any idea what it takes to make $1,000 a month peddling soap? I'm serious. Or, okay, skip it out of there, because that's never... Do you know what it takes to make $1,000 a month and to go get a part-time job or whatever it is? To make $1,000 a month, man, you've got to put in some time, generally speaking. Right? $1,000 a month and this is doable, right? That's why I'm not talking about $20,000 a month or 15 or whatever the number is. This number, everyone can get to 20 trios. Everyone can get there. What's the minimum personal requirement on it? Is it 3?
6.
Okay, it's 6 total, so two trios?
Huh?
6 people or 6 trios?
For what?
In your, what would you personally have to enroll?
You have to have 6 in your personal network.
But you would only have to personally enroll probably 3 people if you look at it, right?
Well, yeah, you just have to have basically one trio, and then if
Exactly.
you got 5 more.
Exactly. Okay, I just want to make sure because that's what I remember it was. You could literally enroll 3 people and get to this. You could do that. And I know people that are there already now. I mean, look, there's the leverageability of the network is huge. Hopefully you're getting, it's the distribution channel that makes the money here. That's what I was trying to say. My point is, Lowe's makes way more than the people who sell in Lowe's.